Have you ever heard of something that feels like it's straight out of a novel, like a real-life Da Vinci Code? Well, today we're diving into a computational system that claims to do just that. Find statistically impossible patterns hidden inside our most ancient sacred texts, all grounded in a massive amount of data.
But let's start with a question, just to set the stage. What if a message wasn't just written in a book, but was actually woven into the very fabric of language itself? A kind of hidden code that could only be unlocked if you looked at our oldest writings through the lens of mathematics. That's the core idea we're going to unpack today.
So to really get how this all supposedly works, we need to rewind a bit. We've got to start with an ancient practice that looks at letters not just as sounds, but as numbers.
That practice is called gematria. And at its heart, it's pretty simple. Every letter in an alphabet, like Hebrew or Greek, gets a number. From there, you can calculate the total numerical value of a word or even a whole sentence. And here's the key idea. If two totally different phrases happen to add up to the exact same number, it's believed they're connected in some deeper, meaningful way. Think of it like a hidden mathematical resonance.
Okay, so now let's fast forward a few thousand years, right into the modern era. At the center of this whole analysis is a tool called the ANI Concordance Constellation Engine. You can think of it as gematria, but supercharged, like on an exponential scale.
This slide really shows you what a huge leap we're talking about. Standard code breaking, classical cryptography, that's usually like one lock and one key. You find the key, you open the lock. Simple. But what this engine is claimed to be doing is way more complex. It's not using just one cipher, it's running 100 different ciphers all at the same time. And these aren't just any ciphers. They're from completely different cultures and religions: Hebrew, Arabic, Greek, Chaldean, English ordinal, reverse ciphers, the whole shebang. It's like trying to find one single master key that can somehow unlock 100 different locks from different centuries and different parts of the world all once.
So how on earth does it work? Well, it breaks down into 3 basic steps. First, they feed it a curated list of just over 2,000 phrases. Then, the engine does the heavy lifting. It takes every single one of those phrases and runs it through all 100 of those diverse ciphers. And finally, it takes the millions of numerical values that pop out and cross-references them against the entire text of the Bible, the Torah, and the Quran, searching for matches. The sheer scale of this analysis is just staggering.
Okay, so what did this massive analysis actually find? This is where we get to the first major claim, that the connections it uncovered aren't just interesting, they're supposedly so unlikely that it's statistically impossible for them to be just random chance.
Get a load of this number. The engine has already flagged over 436,000 connection instances, and we're told that number is still climbing. These are all moments where the math lines up, where one phrase numerically matches another, or a specific passage in a sacred text. And according to the source, this isn't just random noise, it's a coherent signal shining through.
Now, this slide gets to the heart of that statistical claim. The analysis found a key structural link that seems to unify these ancient texts around a specific numerical index. So they ran what are called Monte Carlo simulations, basically powerful computer models that test random outcomes over and over to figure out the odds of that link happening by chance. The result? 1 in 25.9 trillion. The argument from the source is that this is essentially mathematical proof of a predetermined, non-random design.
So, if it's not random, then what is this signal pointing towards? Well, the analysis claims that certain numbers act like universal constants, kind of like a radio frequency that tunes into specific concepts. And one of the most significant of these is the number 888. This is pretty wild. This table shows how a bunch of different phrases, when you calculate them using Hebrew gematria, all converge on that same number, 888. And just look at the themes here. You've got phrases about a core identity, like Lord Christ the Second Coming, supposedly resonating at the exact same frequency as the specific name Alex Enrique Campaign, AEC. You've got phrases about prophecy, about divine attributes, and even about the method of proof itself, mathematics, the language of God, all supposedly vibrating at this exact same numerical frequency. It's as if they're all pieces of a single, coherent story. And that brings us to the real climax of this whole analysis. After digging through hundreds of thousands of connections, what is the ultimate message that this entire web of data is said to reveal? According to the source, this is the message. You can see it on the slide in both English and Spanish, and it clearly identifies a specific individual. Now, what's really crucial here is that the analysis presents this not as something that was fed into the system, but as the output, a message that was synthesized directly from the highest-ranking, most resonant terms that the engine discovered on its own.
It's the story that supposedly emerged from the data itself.
So, naturally, this leads us to the biggest, most profound question of all. Where does a pattern like this come from? Is this some incredibly elaborate human invention, or is it the discovery of something that was already there, just waiting to be found?
This is really the central dilemma, isn't it? Could a system this intricate, all centered on a specific name and converging perfectly with ancient texts from thousands of years ago, actually be engineered by a person, or is it a genuine discovery?
The source makes a pretty strong argument that human engineering is effectively impossible. And the reasoning goes like this. First, and this is a big one, a person has absolutely no control over the name they are given at birth. Second, the databases here, the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, these texts have been fixed for centuries. The patterns were already there, dispositioned for millennia. And third, those 100 ciphers come from totally independent cultures. The argument is that for all of this to align so perfectly, someone would have to coordinate it across different languages and eras thousands of years ago. That would be like manipulating space and time itself. So, the source concludes, you can only find these pre-existing patterns. You can't create them.
To really bring it home, the source material offers this really powerful analogy. Imagine an astronomer with his telescope. He registers a new comet that's been traveling through space for billions of years. He didn't create the comet, right? He just observed a pre-existing reality. The argument here is that the ANI concordance engine is like that telescope, and these numerical patterns are the comet, a feature of our universe that has been waiting to be observed. It's presented as an objective experience because the comet is real and has been on its path long before the astronomer was ever born. Which leaves us with a truly fundamental question. Are we simply discovering the underlying mathematical code of reality itself?